Yes, ma'am. Show all sides of your pig, all angles, yes. Anybody else? All right, well, we're going to go ahead and dive into a few things. So one, it was already said eye contact, eye contact, eye contact. It is incredibly important that you're looking at that judge the entire time that you are in the show ring. One, because if the judge is on the move, it makes sure that you can get in front of them. If you have ever shown to a judge that moves around a lot, if you take your eyes off of them, you've lost them and you've lost your advantage. So staring down that judge, major eye contact the whole time. My second bullet point is don't cross between the pig and the judge. So we call that a ham sandwich. Don't break your ham sandwich. You're a slice of bread, the judge is a slice of bread, and your pig is the ham. All right? So we want to go bread, ham, bread. Right? Don't cross between your pig and the judge. And that is something that takes a lot of practice. So I say to do this, and it may not come naturally, and that's totally fine. We have tools when we talk about training to give you to practice at home so that it becomes more of a natural process for you to work on. All right? And a huge thing, how to hold your whip. So Tana and Blaine, we're not holding our whips like pencils. All right? What we want to do is we want to have a nice firm grip. All right? This is going to give us control. And they both naturally have their finger up along that side too. All right? So they have a nice firm grip. super important, and I'm going to stress this a bunch throughout the weekend, whip control, whip control, whip control. All right? Some of you get a little excited out here, and then you get antsy, and then you overuse your whip. We're going to work on that. All right? Ask Blaine. I am a stickler for when people overuse their whip. I say to him too. I want it to look effortless for you out here, okay? So, moving on, a few more things. Hit with a purpose. Let's go ahead and bring out our demos. So, I have two people doing demonstrations, and that is because you're not all going to walk away from this weekend with the exact same show style. What's important to us is that you walk away with the fundamentals, but you're all individuals, and you're going to have your own styles that you bring to the table, just as Tana and Blaine do. So, as they're showing to me, I want to notice a few things. So, first, Tana switched her whip hand already. Alright, so people always ask me, is it okay to use different hands to hold your whip? Absolutely. That's totally fine. I didn't ever show with a brush in my offhand, and that just made it so I could always reach and switch which hand I had my whip in the show ring. 2, nice light hits. These pigs are a little more trained than some ears because they're little. You got plenty of time, and we're going to give you the tools to get them where they need to be. But they're hitting them barely. You hear how quiet they are? They're barely touching these animals. They're just guiding them where they need to go. And they're only hitting them in a few places. Alright, so you'll notice 1, they're hitting them on the side of the head to get them to turn. Right? We're only hitting them there. These aren't really fast, but if you have a faster pig, you can hit them between their ears on their forehead to get them to stop, just like Tana's doing right now. And then to get these pigs going, we're going to say hit that gas pedal. All right? And that gas pedal, Blaine, you hit it to, is that rear flank. All right, we're hitting that rear flank to get them moving forward. As we go through the weekend, we're going to practice coming out of holding pens. We're going to practice doing drills in the show ring, things of that nature. And none of those things will be easily accomplished if your pig isn't constantly on the move. All right, so we want to make sure that we're getting that pig moving forward at all times. Another thing, the placement of both of these showmen. They are both right here tight. There's no room for another animal, another pig to get between the showman and their pig. This is your dance partner. You don't want to be far away from them in the show ring. You're going to stay right on that hip. And if you have a smaller hog, you still want to stay nice and tight to them. All right? We don't want to give animals room to break up your partnership in the show ring. Okay, so stay nice and tight on that hip. So again, the only places we're really hitting them are on the side of your face, between your ears, or in that gas pedal. We're not hitting them on the hocks, we're not hitting them on the ham, we're not hitting them on the top. All right? These are things to practice at home. Okay, inside and outside turns. So we talked about maintaining that ham sandwich, not crossing between the pig and the judge. And there are a few ways to make sure that you're accomplishing that. So, I'm the judge for these two showmen, and what I want them to do is live it up. I'll talk through whatever you decide to do. So Tana's a little further away from me, so she decided to do an outside turn. And that means she turned her pig away from me, or away from her, to get a little closer to the judge. All right, so let's watch her do another outside turn. All right, so you see, nice and gentle. There you go. All right, now, Blaine is going to show us an inside turn. So say he's a little too close to the judge, and he wants to put himself just a little further back. He's going to keep that pig moving, and he's going to turn that pig into his knees, and now he's just placed a little further away from us. All right? And I can sit here and say, you need to be 6 to 8 feet away from the judge. That doesn't necessarily click. So while we're out here with the counselors and we're working through your groups that you're going to be assigned here in a moment, we will be standing the appropriate amount of distance from the judge and saying, okay, you need to be between me and the judge. If you're behind me, you're too far away. So when you're home practicing, if you can set cones out, if you can set things to help you determine what that distance is without having to think 6 to 8 feet, something to practice at home so that distance just becomes natural for you, that will be really helpful. All right, any other things with the pigs out? Oh, this all farm. Not sure your kid. Tana's got a lot of feelings about it. She recently judged showmanship. And so our important thing with our non-whip hand, whether you switch whip hands or not, is that off arm is engaged. All right? Oh, maybe not quite as excessive.
So what we mean by engaged?
Yes.
We mean that, okay, for example, my pig's going to the corner and my whip isn't doing anything to get him out. If I have my hand right here where I can actively use that quickly and easily, that's what we're going for. Or right now, we're in the training phase on these dogs. If I need to put pressure on their ham-loin junction to get them to feel like they need to move forward, my hand is right here, ready to do that.
And a big point to what she said about training stage.
Training.
Training. So, when your pigs are show ready, show size, a lot of yours are a little smaller, you're going to start prospect shows, they are not yet used to moving forward. So when you're training at home, a lot of them, if you hit them on the face with the whip, they're going to start backing up. And you don't want them to do that. Alright, so when you're training, that's the only time that it's really okay to put pressure on your pig. It's not something we want to do in the show ring, at the actual show, but we're doing it here because we want these pigs to get trained along with you this weekend, and we want them to get where you need them to be. So this weekend, if you see Tana, Blaine, me, Hannah, or Jessica putting pressure on your pig's back, it's so they know we're there and that they can't back up. We still don't want to see you touching your pig. Alright, we're going to do it. We're going to break the habit of you doing it. Okay? So if you see us doing it, it's purely a training thing that we are working on. But we want that off arm up, not touching your pig. We want it in front of you. I don't care if it's down on your thigh. I don't care if it's up and engaged and tucked close to you. However it feels most comfortable for you. But we don't want that arm behind you. And we don't want it on your rear pocket, all right? We want that arm in front of you, so in case you do need it, it is there ready for you, all right?
I feel extremely strongly about that, guys. There is no reason that arm should be behind your back like this. Not a single reason for it. If you've got your brush in your hand, cool. Hold it right here. If you don't feel comfortable, put it on your thigh like this. There's no reason it should be behind.
Yep, and it just doesn't need to be floppy. It needs to be nice and a strong arm. Sorry, you're going to say this stuff?
I was going to say, you are all adults. Your back should not hurt. Lay it back here like you don't breathe. Now, have it up, engage, breathe, grab your gate, breathe, grab your brush, whatever you need. Have it out. You're ready to go.
Yes, absolutely. And one more thing before we get these pigs put up. Don't be contradictory with your whip placement, or with your whip movements. Meaning, if you want your pig to go forward and you're hitting that gas pedal, and then you go and hit him on the face, what do you think that pig might do? Back up or stop, right? And the reason you're hitting that gas pedal is because you want them to drive forward. So when you're watching them show, when they hit the gas pedal, they are not just going straight up to hit that pig's face. They're waving that whip on the side of their face to get them to turn and steer them, all right? So use that gas pedal to go, and that whip is like our steering wheel. We're just flagging them to get their head turned where they need to be. These are all things that we want you to do your very best in the show ring. We recognize, and I promise we're not going to hold it against you if your pig's not perfectly trained. We understand that it's the beginning of your show season, all right? So just do your very best out here. That's really all we can ask. If you want to go ahead, you can pin those pigs so you're not wearing them down. The show ring. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and have Miss Jessica bring out this noisy Berkshire. Although I am a Berkshire gal myself, so I'm a little biased. I was the spot queen of Indiana, so get it right. But so basically what we're doing here is you can watch both of them. They're going to do pretty much the same deal. So one, they're going to stay calm, which is something everybody should be watching them do. They're not going to let this get them worked up. All right, so what they're going to do is they're going to take the head trainers, and Jessica, hold them both up. You can see they're tilted right there at the very end, and what she's going to do is she's going to take those and cup the pig's head and pull it up. All right, we want it to be a natural stance, so we don't want their head sky high. We want it to be nice and level, coming right out of that neck. heck, all right? So we don't want them to look crazy out there. We just want them to look nice and level topped with a natural head carriage, okay? So that's something to practice. So, you guys are doing great. Okay, so what they're going to do is they're going to take those head trainers, cup the pig's head, and pull it up. You see both of them are fairly tall humans, and so what they are doing is which they're not having a problem with it right now, but if you have one that's really slow, what they're going to do is they're going to stand behind that pig, so if it tries to back up, it's backing into you. If you have a slow pig that won't keep its head up and it won't move forward and the gas pedal's not working, get that pig trained to keep their head up so that you can at least get it moving forward. And the reason that they have two head trainers is even though they're cupping that pig's head to get it up, if that pig won't move forward, which is a non-issue for either one of these in the ring, all right, they're going to drop one of the head trainers back and hit that gas pedal to keep encouraging them to go forward, even though you're also tapping underneath their head. All right, so it's a dual deal. And like I said, I said head training is not easy, and it's not done on the day of show, and I mean it, all right? This is something that once your pig, you're taking them out and you're working them at home, it's something that you need to start doing pretty quickly because it's going to make training them and getting showmanship ready a lot easier on you. So already, Jessica's pig is slowing down a little bit for her, all right? So she's taking it nice and easy. She'll drop back and hit that rear flank if she needs to get it moving forward, and just trying to keep a nice natural head carriage coming out. All right, so nice and easy, light taps, just pulling it up. If you are not tall or you're not Jessica or Hannah, and you need somebody to help you if your pig keeps backing up, have somebody follow behind you with the board. Teamwork makes the dream work. So if you need somebody, if you need to be up on the side of it like Hannah is, and you have a slow pig, have somebody stand behind you, behind the pig to make sure it's not backing up because we always want to encourage them to move forward. All right? And this Berkshire is already annoyed. It's like, okay, well, I've already done it, so now I'm tired of it. All right? So this is something that you need to do and be consistent in. So when we talk training is a consistent thing. You can't just stop and start. You need to make sure that once you start training, you're working with them every day. And now Miss Jessica is going to switch out. So now she's kind of got to the point where she's pretty listening to what's going on, and she's going to switch it out so that it's the whip and the head trainer. And again, he doesn't want it right away, but keep at it. And they'll get used to it, and then it'll become more of a natural head carriage. Another thing when you're feeding your animals, make sure that feeder is up off the ground, and that will also encourage them to keep their head up. You don't want it to be really high where they have to step into their feeder, but having your feeder hanging up off the ground will also encourage them to keep their head up, and it just looks a lot nicer. Look how, it's hard. You guys do a really good job. But we'll keep these 4 head trainers out here tonight. So if you want to try them on your pig to see how it goes, you're welcome to. But Jessica has had to demo these a lot for me. Hannah, I think, has once before, but it is sweaty work, all right? One time I tried to talk head trainers while I was doing it, and I was incredibly out of breath. So it takes time and effort for you to do this. Yes, consistency is key. So, when we start training, keep living it up. Give you a break. You just switched out. You got it. All right? And a huge thing when we're talking training, can everybody hear me?
What?
Can everybody hear me? You know, it's a little squealy in here. It's not your fault. All right? I was just going to say, we don't reinforce bad behavior. So even though this pig is acting up, and when you're training your pigs at home, and they start pitching a fit, and they're not listening to you because this pig really wants to go back to their pen, have somebody help you and work that pig for another minute or two, because if you just let them go straight back to their pen, in the back? All right, so another excellent point. So this pig has a pig that it lives with that's hanging out in the pen, and it's jealous. He wants to be back there sleeping, having full access to water, eating some snacks, and he's mad that he's out here working. When you're training your pigs at home, if you have pigs that are penned together, exercise them at different times. Do not let them get used to being side by side at all times. Split them up, work on that at home, because it is no fun when that happens to you in the show ring, and it happens at all camps. I can almost always tell which pig has a pen made in the back, all right? So, great job, you guys are crushing it. And another thing is Hannah's keeping on it. I mean, there's a lot of power when we have, these are aluminum pipes, but because the pig is not helping her case at all, do you see how intense she is, how focused she is? So when the parents were inside here talking to the kids, that when you are out here, you and your pig, your effort is at 100%. So if your pig's not working or your pig's working at 25%, you gotta up your intensity and you gotta fill up so you're still running at 100%. So Hannah's gotta be hyper-focused. She's super paying attention to this animal. She's bent over, she's out of breath, which I also would be. There's no judgment at all. It's a lot harder than she's making it look, but she's keeping on it. All right, and it is consistency, but teamwork makes the dream work. So it's just another thing at home when you start training, have somebody help you. What I want to do is both of you drive both of your pigs down here and then let them go back to their pens. We've been doing this with a lot of the groups just because they want to hang out at this extra game because they know exactly where they're going. So what we're trying to do to help avoid them knowing, like, just getting used to being rewarded is every time we're done with the group, we have them drive down to this end of the pen and back, and that's just a good habit to get into. Even if this pig would have somehow gotten out of the pen at home for us, we would have went, got him back out, and drove him for another few minutes with somebody helping us do that, because we can't reinforce bad behavior. Nice job, Hannah. Jessica, you did great too. Round of applause. Right, so to make a good impression on the judge. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna walk through this formation, but before we even get in there, will you also get all of us? Yeah, why not? All of you. Beach ball and some sort of show utensil. Because we're gonna talk about some do's or don'ts in the holding pen. All right, so, all right. She's an athlete, no worries. All right, so first, when we get pens, we're taking our pick with us, all right? So if you're out here in the holding pen and the judge tells you to go to a pen, you're still keeping that ham sandwich, you're still watching the judge. Now you just have another added challenge where you're going into the holding pen. Oh, can you please go to a pen? No. Exactly, don't do that. Take your pick with you, right? So we'll talk, I'm just gonna have you all come out and then I'll go at one time and kind of walk through it. Really throwing off my vibe here. But watch her, without explanation. All right, so when they're in the holding pens, all right? They're not talking to one another. They're focused, they're still staring at me, the judge. All right, it's still eye contact. This is a perfect time for them to look over their pigs to make sure those animals are clean. I always say there's 3 trouble areas to check. Jowl, belly, and hops. All right, shavings just get kicked up there. These aren't super flaky, but sometimes you're in a really flaky show ring, and those shavings get kicked up. So always check those spots for shavings. And then they're still looking at me. They're also maintaining their ham sandwich. So that pig is at the front of the ring, at the pen. You can't tell because of the beach balls, but the pig's head is in the corner where the gate opens. All right, so as soon as the judge calls you out, you're ready to go. So you're not gonna be like Miss Tana. You're not leaning on the gate. You're not just staring off, waving at the crowd. You're not talking to everybody. You're not on your cell phone, which she's not gonna trying to do. You're worried about yourself because even though you're in the holding pen, it's still game time. All right, you're still focused. You're still really paying attention. I have seen judges place a top 10 showmanship, see two kids goofing off in the holding pen, hold them out, redrive, and move them further down the line. All right? So if you're in that front holding pen, your game face is on no matter what the situation. You don't need to worry about anybody. They can come out, they can be best buds, locking arms, walking back to their holding pen. I don't care, but not a show ring. They're worried about themselves out here. All right? So, how we're going to enter the ring. So, before we talk about this Z formation, when you enter the holding ring, or the pen from the holding, when you enter the show ring from the holding pen, the words just all got mixed up there. All right? You're going to stare down the judge. And there's a few things that Tana and I have been noticing at shows, and that's the habit of opening your pen, driving at the judge for a little bit, and then going and closing your gate. We don't like that for a handful of reasons. If you leave your gate open when you leave and another pig goes into that gate, you are responsible for that pig going into that holding pen. And now you are affected, and you're not going to get the results that you want. So when I enter the holding pen, and Miss Jessica, I'll call her out, she's going to come out in this nice and easy gate. She's going to have her pig trained at home, right, to stop for just a second. So when you're training your pig at home, if you can tap them under the head to get them trained to slow down for you, her pig is still right there, ready to rock and roll, even while she gets that gate closed. And now she's at an advantage because her pig is still right beside her. She doesn't have to walk across the ring, worrying about her pig having run. Her pig is there, it's under control, and now she's going to walk through what we call Z formation. So, like I said, big impacts every time you enter the ring. That's what we're looking for. So she's going to drive straight at the judge. And the reason we do that is because, pause, right now, if this was a real pig, Jessica can stare me down, stare the judge down, without having to check where her pig is. Because she can see the pig out of the bottom of her eye. She knows exactly where that pig is. So she's driving straight at me, uninterrupted eye contact. She's going to drive at me. She's going to go around cone 1. So that's a front view. She's going to cut back to cone 2. Get a little bit of a rear view here. She's going to go around cone 2 to cone 3. And now she's going to hang out back here till all the other pigs are in the ring.
She's going to do figure eights back there between cones 4 and 5.
Wow, what a fun thing. How exciting.
Love it when the plan comes together.
Oh, so, but it's a good habit to get into, right? A big thing that we need to work on as a crew is making long passes. That's going to make life so much easier for you when you get your pig trained to make nice long passes instead of having, they get here and then they turn around real quick and they run to the out gate, the exit gate. Getting them trained to take long passes and big wide turns just looks like a nice fluid showman, like you know what you're doing. So, we're going to do the same thing. All right, all three of you coming out. And then I'm going to pin them up, and while we pin them, we'll talk through. So Miss Hannah's coming out, she's getting her gate shut. Her gate is locked, pause. She's not just shutting her gate, she's closing her gate till it's locked. So even if another pig pushes up against it, it's not going to open in at her. It's going to be nice and close. So she's going to go ahead and come. Did I call you out?
I know. Did you want to do that at the same time?
No, but I'm calling you out one time. Now she's going to go around cone 1, back to cone 2, and then over to cone 3. Blaine, did you sabotage Dana?
Trying to sabotage. She did.
I said all three of you are going to come out. So whatever, that's fine. All right, so then they're going to keep living their life back here. And so now, no matter where you're at, it all depends on where the judge is, because the first move I want you to make is driving straight at the judge. All right, I want an intense stare down. I want to feel a little threatened, you know? All right, Blaine, let's roll. And they're going to call you out, and the judge can bounce around who they're calling out, and that's why you're still paying attention, so that as soon as you're called, you're ready to go. All right, so eye contact, staring me down, going to cut back around to cone 2. And then they're going to cone 3. Miss Tana, come on out. And even though I'm right here, Tana, it doesn't have to be exactly where the cones are. where I'm at. She's gonna drive straight at me. Notice that cone's not perfect. She's gonna mix it up, cut back a little bit off to the side, and she's gonna come over here. Now they're gonna keep showing me, and I want all 4 of you to go to a holding pen. Watch as they approach their holding pen. So, they're not gonna drive straight to the gate that they're trying to open, because when you try to open it, your pig's in the way. They're gonna drive into the gate next to where their gate opens. So, there we go, Miss Jessica. I mean, they could have gone to any of them, whichever one was going to be easiest. But Tana mixed it up. She drove to the gate next to her. It was really easy for her to open and slide right on in. All right? So drive into the gate next to where you want to go so you're still able to open the gate that you need to. And always make sure it's closed behind you. When you're coming out of a holding pen, sometimes there's pigs running that gate right in front of you. If there's a pig, you don't have to do anything. But if I had called Tana out and Blaine's pig was running the fence, Tana is gonna, and Blaine's is right in front of her as soon as I call out, she's gonna wait for Blaine's pig to get out of the way before she enters the show ring. The judge clearly sees what's happening. You're not gonna be held accountable for Blaine affecting you entering the ring. So, if a pig is coming, running that gate, let them get out of the way before you make the next move. All right? Anything else you'd like to add, holding pen crew? Go ahead.
This is completely reversible. You can come out and do it this way. We just set it up that it can come this way. Also, when you get behind the judge, did you see where all our eyes were?
I felt them. I felt them on the back of my head.
Thank you. That's what the judge should feel, that you're staring a hole in the back of his head. We were all looking and paying attention. As soon as the last person was out, what did we do? What did we do? Attack! Thank you.
Gosh, but as soon as all the pigs are in the ring, what do we do?
Attack the judge!
What a call and response we're getting here.
Alright,
Good.
guys, let's listen to the answer. As soon as all last pig is in the ring, what do we do?
Attack the judge!
It doesn't seem like Tana's going to put on a song and dance routine
Not today,
today.
I'm not.
All right, so, yes.
What do you do with all the parents in the back trying to give your pig water and tell them what to do and what not to do?
Yes, so excellent point. So, if your kid is in the holding pen and they're posted up, what I would do, it wasn't even my dad, parents, you know, my dad didn't watch me show. I had a friend that I had assigned to have a big brush and a water bottle. A big brush because girls' pockets are a roost and they can only hold a little baby brush. And sometimes you need a big brush. Boys' pockets, jealous. All right, so I had somebody with a big brush in case my pig had the runs or I really needed to clean off their face or their hocks or anything. And then basically what I would have them do is I'd say, okay, if I get to a holding pen, sit those things within my reach and back away. Like they don't gotta tell me, they don't need to stand there, be subtle, right? Set those things there and step away. If it was Tana and she noticed that maybe I needed to do something that I wasn't doing, she's probably going to step a little further away and then still tell me, I'm still listening, hey, get a little closer to the judge.
This is how that would go. Okay, pretend you're in the holding pen. Oh, Mina, this is how it would go. I'd say, hey, can you hear me? All right, you need to get a little closer to the judge next time. That's how that goes.
Voila. All right? Nice and subtle. All right, and if people are in the way, good, because then they can't see, the judge can't tell who's talking to who. Because a lot of people do like to stand back there, but like I said, put it down and walk away. Like you don't want to worry about it. You know, Tana, grab that water, spray your pig down really quickly, give it a drink if it needed, put it back, and stay focused. Like she's not peeling her eyes away from the judge at any point. All right? Holding pens can be a real make or break situation, and it's important. Ways that I worked on training at home is to, when I would walk my pigs, I would leave their pen like I'm practicing on a holding pen, getting them used to being able to stop on a dime so that they're still there when I'm ready to get work in. So then that way it becomes more of a habit, all right? So, and then when I get back to the pen, I have it closed, so then I have to open it and get that pig back into the pen. So it's just little things like that that you can do daily that can become habit and really help your success in the show ring. All right, does anybody else have any questions about holding pens? What's up? set yourself up for success. So if you have a small area, or you don't have an area at all, I mean, like, get some hog kennels and make things easier for you. I mean, there's things you can do with the facility that you have that, for us, personally, the reason that our whole property was like fenced in so animals couldn't get away is because sometimes people leave the gates open and their cattle run down the highway, and then you get in a lot of trouble. So, been there, and so that's why we had everything kind of enclosed in one area, so even if my pigs got away from me, anything got away from me, I could still not have to worry about them running down the highway or scaring a horse and buggy coming down the road. I live in Amish land, I guess. You pointing at me or
No,
your question?
if you had like a door at your barn, what I used to do was I trained them to walk up to that door, I count 1, 2, 3, and then open the door. And that works for holding pins or coming in the ring or whatever to get them to stop.
Yeah, I'd say whatever your system is or your setup is, kind of look at it with your family and say, okay, what are little things that I can do daily in this setup that we have that are going to be helpful? So, gates, pens, whatever it is, you can do with what you have, right, bud? Yeah, so this is pretty much any time you enter the show ring. So, what we're trying to do is, although when you come into the show ring here, we just have it flung open and we're trying to get you to the point where you're spreading yourself out so that you can make an impact. When you come in, you want to stare down that judge, make that major eye contact right away, but you also want to make use of the time that you have. All right, so the reason we talk about it with the holding pens is because almost always the holding pens means you're in a top drive and now it's time to get serious. And so most of the time when the judge is at this point, they're going to give you a little more time to spend in front of them. And so we want to make use of that time. So the way we're making use of that time is when they come out, they're going to show off 3 views right away and say, well, this person knows how to get their animal presented. They just showed me a bunch of different angles in 10, 15 seconds. So it's just showing total control. And you can set these up tomorrow. We'll go through other drills that you can do at home, but really, you can set up anything at home. And I think Tana used trees for a figure 8, and then she used her dog as a judge. Really kept her on her toes. All right, so there's all sorts of things you can do to make things harder for you. And what it comes down to is if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to push yourself. All right, so most of the time that's kind of spurred up by a loss at a show that you go to that you're maybe disappointed in yourself, your pig doesn't do exactly what you want it to. It's going to kind of motivate you when you get home. So hopefully some of you are motivated by your prospect talks here this weekend to just keep putting in the work at home. Prospect talks are really hard. So just keep doing your best and don't let it worry you too much. Just keep doing the work at home and it'll come together in the show ring. All right, holding pen.